This is FinTech Futures reporting from Finovate Spring, and I'm joined by Wendy Cai-Lee from Piermont Bank. How are you?
Thank you. Good to be here. I'm well.
Excellent. How have you been enjoying the conference so far?
Yeah, seeing a lot of old colleagues, new friends. It's great.
Excellent, excellent. So, would you like to just quickly give a brief introduction to yourself and your role then?
Sure. So again, I'm Wendy Cai-Lee. I'm the founder, CEO of Piermont Bank. So Piermont is probably a bit new to most people because we're the first digital commercial bank chartered, insured by the FDIC. So it's exciting.
Excellent, excellent. So you're here speaking on a panel then about digital acceleration.
Yeah.
So what is your take on how banks are approaching digital transformation at the moment?
Oh, I think it depends on which bank you're talking about.
Sure.
So I think the US banking industry is quite unique, right? Unlike probably any country, we still have 4,900 some banking institutions left of different type and different size. So my two fellow panelists, they were from two of the largest US banks. I think for Piermont, in terms of, we're native, we build this. We build it like a fintech, we run it like one, we do product development, we create UX like a fintech. But at the end of the day, we are a regulated banking institution. So there's obviously the risk management component that's quite different. And but if you look at the larger banks, they are spending making large investments, right? Building their own innovation centers, because I think everyone understands the need to continue to not only innovate in technology, but also process, right? Increasing user adoption internally as well as among clients, because otherwise you can build something beautiful, you can innovate and nobody use it.
Sure.
Yeah.
How have you been approaching your own digital journey?
Sure, yeah. No, that's a good question. We do it in, I would say, putting three major categories. The digitization in terms of tech stack itself in the process, and that's actually internal process, as I mentioned earlier. And lastly is that UX, right? Is understanding, I'll go reverse. The last one, understanding in terms of what is the expectation, what is relevant to the user in terms of using digital tools, digital interface. And when it comes to internal processes, how are we using technology to reduce redundancy and make it much faster, much more efficient, right? And lastly is the tech stack itself, right? Are we creating a flexible, open environment to the point where we can easily integrate, adapt the right technology that's not organically developed?
Excellent. I mean, you mentioned kind of like trying to act like a fintech as well. I mean, do you see incumbents, the bigger kind of banks, competing more against fintechs now, or do you feel like it's actually becoming more of a kind of
I think it's both, right? Because at the end of the day, you have the same pool of customers. So some would do better in terms of one demographic versus another, but certainly you will compete. But I also see that convergence taking place, right? Especially if you think about the first generation of fintechs. Some of them are maturing to the stage where they have millions of customers. So I think that convergence start taking place, because once you get to that scale, how do you reduce your cost of capital, right? Many of them start asking the question, well, at least they talk to me about it, should I go get a bank charter? Now what happens when you do that, right, in terms of the compliance costs, managing the regulatory expectations? Does that slow down what they're good at, right? Is the speed of their innovation? So we do see that. That's going to start merging, yeah.
Yeah. Did you expect maybe more kind of like mergers and acquisitions and that kind of activity in the space, or is it kind of...
Yeah, I think so, especially later this year. That's the anticipation that is, right? No one has really a crystal ball, but given the activity and given the volatility that we're seeing as well as in the equity markets, which greatly impacts the capital markets from the standpoint of especially growth stage, capital availability, yeah.
So what technologies or use cases would you say are the most important for banks to be looking into at the moment?
To Piermont is external versus internal, and they're not binary, obviously. Our focus has always been that whatever we do, both internally, it's always focusing on, is it what the clients want? Versus we're building the latest, best, shiniest toy. If it's not what they want, it's useless.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, thanks so much for speaking to me, Wendy. It's been a great
Yeah,
great
it's a
introduction.
pleasure. Thank you for having me.
So, no worries. Thank you.
Yeah.